This is Matt for In2 Boxing. Delighted as always to be joined by Nisse Sauerland. Nisse, before we get into fight week, how was your trip? Bit jet lagged?
Yeah, pretty jet lagged. I've been up since sort of 4 a.m. So not in a good way as well. Not slept much.
Yeah, it's one of them when you come away to these countries, innit, trying to acclimatise, but huge fight week. One of your chargers, Filip Hrgovic, big task ahead of him, big bang Zhang. Spoke to him yesterday, he's well up for this fight. What sort of mood's Filip in for this week? It's a big week.
He is, how do I say, he's very relaxed, which makes me very nervous for Zhang. He's had a great camp. We brought in a lot of very, very top draw sparring for him. And he's training over in Houston with Ronnie Shields. So it's kind of the same sort of weather over there. It's boiling hot, just like it is here. So he's acclimatized. I think the jet lag, sort of, going 8 hours back and being here, and he's waking up late, and he's peaking. He's at his fittest late at night. It's going to suit everything. The whole game plan's going to be perfect. And I think he's going to do a really good job on Saturday night and become the mandatory to Usyk Joshua.
It's huge implications for the winner. If Hrgovic is this fighter everyone thinks he is, what's a big statement for him? Do you expect him to get rid of Zhang in a few rounds? A lot of people are saying that Hrgovic is gonna walk through it and that he's just too good. Heard that from a lot of people. What do you expect to happen Saturday?
Well, I think you need to be wary of Zhang. He's got big punching power. Southpaw coming from that. No one likes to fight a southpaw. No. It's like you don't know where those shots are coming from, but he's got a good right hook, good left straight down the middle, as you'd expect from a southpaw, and he's got big punching power. So you've got to be wary. But I think Filip made a good point at the press conference where he said, "Look, I'm dangerous for 12 rounds. Zhang is only dangerous for 2 or 3, and as long as he rides those 2 or 3, I could see a stoppage rounds 4 to 6."
So we mentioned, if Filip becomes mandatory for Usyk or Joshua, what's the ideal scenario for that main event? Because we're assuming, a lot of people saying that Tyson Fury obviously at the minute is quote-unquote retired, and that they think if Joshua wins, he'll come out, and people saying if it's Usyk, he might not be as inclined to do so. Is it a better scenario for you guys if Usyk wins to make that mandatory go through, rather than the undisputed, and then will that overrule the mandatory? How's it going to work for Filip? Because whenever we get these mandatories, we saw it with Dillian White for years. It got pushed back and back and back. How's it going to work with Filip, do you think?
I think the IBF are a lot more regimented with their mandatory period and what they will allow. Yeah. Would we stand in a way of AJ fighting Fury for unification? I mean, no, and I don't think we could. Would AJ particularly want to fight Filip? I don't know. I think he makes more money fighting an easier fight, let's say like a Dillian White or someone on that level, than fighting a Filip Hrgovic for a title. So that's that fight without titles. He might drop it. There's a lot of domestic fights there. Usyk, I could see him fancying it. He's that type of guy. And there's big fights out there for him as well, Fury, but don't know. We just got to see how it all plays out, right? Yeah. So that's the joys of boxing. You never know. Once you think you've got something sorted, it just unsorts itself.
Absolutely. This main event's an interesting one. I've been getting people's opinion on it all week. A lot of people are saying Anthony Joshua will approach this completely different to the first fight, and other people are saying Usyk's just too good. From your point of view, what do you think of this main event? Do you like how Joshua sort of approached fight week from what you've seen? I know you've only been here a day or so. What do you sort of make of it? Usyk's got that pressure of, it's almost like he's carrying Ukraine on his back as well into this fight week. How do you think sort of all these variables will play a part?
No, look, I think that I'm quite shocked at people's behaviour around AJ in the UK and living there and whatever else. People have to look. I'm not a fanboy. I think AJ has saved UK boxing. Yeah. 2012, when he won that Olympic medal, Sky came, Eddie came, and AJ came, and they all together, that brought back boxing. Boxing was on a low at that time. I think even Sky were considering getting out of boxing at that time. I have to ask them for confirmation, but it was pretty low. So people forget that, especially in the boxing world as well, which shocks me. I'm not saying that, again, I'm not, I am rooting for AJ, but I also like Usyk. We've worked with Usyk in the World Boxing Super Series. It's a great fight. But my question is, how else would you expect AJ to approach this fight week?
Yeah.
Of course, he's gone back to, the
colder approach.
Yeah, the hunger. He seems to have his hunger back. I don't know. Maybe it's an act. Maybe it's not. Hope it's not. I think he needs to be hungry. He needs to be ruthless.
Yeah.
He needs to use his physicality in there. Yeah. I think, fighting in Saudi when he fought against Ruiz in the rematch, it suited him. It's, sometimes having a crowd is great, but sometimes it can also make you nervous. Yeah. So I think my prediction would be, again, I'm probably jumping on the bandwagon because it's quite a common opinion. I thought AJ would win the first one. I was totally wrong, so I'll probably get this totally wrong as well. But I think AJ early on could catch Usyk with right hand. Usyk has that tendency to step out with his left foot a bit and open himself up to that shot. And as long as AJ's throwing that right again, which he didn't really in the first fight, you can see an early stoppage for within 7 or 8. But I think the longer it goes, the harder it will be for him.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's sort of the general consensus, and I think he alluded to that when he spoke to me and said a knockout's required in this fight. You made a good point there, and I don't understand it myself. Anthony Joshua seems to get a little bit of criticism or not people backing him, and I'm sort of looking at the reasoning for it, and I don't know whether they think it's because they see him as somebody who's maybe either wound up promotionally or media trained. I think that's sort of what comes across, but I think when you forget the likes of what he's done for this country, it baffles me when he's going against someone from the Ukraine that I've seen a lot of it online, or I'm wanting Usyk to win, and I'm like, I personally don't get it. I get admiring Usyk, and if he's your favourite fighter, maybe, but it's strange, isn't it?
It baffles me. I mean, I see AJ as, he does have the persona of being a humble, nice guy, and that's all I've ever experienced with him, and that's all I've ever seen, and that's from when he started pro, and I think I saw him recently, and he gave me a wave and was like, usual him. People like to, when you're winning and you're flying and you're on top, you got lots of people backing you. When you're a bit low, people don't. Something called loyalty, and sadly, especially with the social media and people jump on a bandwagon. It's a bit annoying, really.
It is, isn't it? Moving away from this fight week, next week's a pretty big one as well. KSI's fighting twice now, apparently. What's your take on that? I mean, I saw the news just like everyone else and was like, what is going on? Talk me through it. This YouTuber error. It's a strange one, but it's an interesting one. They do big numbers. What do you make of KSI fighting twice in one night?
My brother's dealing with that a lot. I think I've seen KSI, and he's in training, and he's a very strong boy, and very athletic, and I think he, obviously this Alex Wassbi pulled out. This is a total load of rubbish. I think it was just an excuse.
You think he's bottled it?
Absolutely bottled it, and I think it was a bit of a dirty trick from Jake Paul, and just to try and disrupt the show. It hasn't disrupted it, but by what I'm hearing is it's sold out within 1,000 tickets, I think, maybe left. which is selling every day. I think when he announced Swarms, people thought, oh no, Swarms can't box. Look, Swarms is, he's a tough kid. He's going to come and give it, and also the fact that KSI is going to have another fight after that. That must really irritate him, and he's going to want it even more. So he'll be throwing everything at him, and it's a risk.
Yeah.
It's a big risk. You get a cut, you lose. It's a big risk.
I think everyone's assuming, obviously, the big money spinner would be a fight between him and Jake Paul. How likely do you think that is if he comes through these 2 fights in one night? Because that's a gigantic event that crosses over everyone now. Even the hardcores are sort of looking more into it, and you get the casual. The numbers for that would be insane. How likely do you think that is, and who would you give the edge to in that fight? Being honest,
I would say on the likelihood of it happening. That's a fight that's got to happen.
Yeah.
That's crossover boxing's Fury Joshua. That's a big fight, for crossover boxing. I do think that in my experience so far is that Jake's been very hard to, and his team they're hard to work with. So I don't know. I don't know. Look, it's. I'm old school. Let's just get the purses sorted, strap on the gloves, and have a fight. These guys operate a bit differently. Maybe they're not really boxing people. Let's see. I heavily tip KSI on it. I think he's more explosive, moves around better.
Yeah.
Jake Paul, undeniably, he's a strong guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think JJ's a more natural fighter.
How much would you like to get in there with a YouTuber when you see some of them yourself? You'd love a YouTuber to call you out to have a little move round, wouldn't you? I was talking to Callum about this when he mentioned Jake Paul on the cobbles a while back. You wouldn't mind it, would you? You wouldn't mind having a go, would you?
I would. Nothing would make me more happy. I've done a few of those when I was younger. I did I think 5 or 6 of those. Not YouTube fights. White collar fights.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was you can't compare it to really getting in there, but it just the energy of it. Getting
buzz, isn't it?
1,000 people in there. I had a lot. That's what bugs me about people who can't sell tickets. I was selling 350, 400 tickets when I was doing it. And I remember the first fight I did. I got my nose bust. I properly got beaten up. But I went a distance.
Yeah.
And then I sold a lot of tickets. And the next fight I got matched with, the guy looked like he'd been pulled in from a sort of Kilburn pub just before, and I shone.
Sparkling that one.
Yeah. I think the promoter sort of saw that he was onto a good one there. But look, I'm entering into a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament in November.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I got my blue belt recently. I'm not very good, but I got my blue belt. I enjoy the art of combat. I'm not particularly good at it, but it boils down to that sort of animal instinct, doesn't it?
Where do you get time to fit that in? Because I've seen your schedule. We've been speaking for 14 minutes, but upstairs your phone goes. I know you and your brother are probably constantly on the phone talking about deals and how we get stuff done and bouncing around to shows. You've had terrific success with this Wassabi show on Channel 5, a lot of young stars coming through. Where do you get time to delve into all this stuff? Do you have to say, look, Cal, I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks, I'm going to leave it with you?
It's actually it's a weekend tournament, so it's on a Saturday and a Sunday, but I've got to fit the training in.
Yeah.
Which is, that's the hard part. With the jiu-jitsu, you got to do it 3 times a week minimum, and it's hard on the body, especially the sparring and stuff. But I will just ramp it up and just have to get through it.
Have you and Calla ever had a move round?
Many times.
Yeah, how's that gone? Do you both just lose it with each other at one point and go for it? Because you're both competitive guys.
To be honest, we just end up taking lumps out at each other, and then next minute we're friends. It's look,
brothers,
I think people these days they're too quick to pull out a knife or pull out a bottle. What's wrong with a bit of fisticuffs to settle a problem?
I'm saying for years, boxing in communities save a lot of troubled youngsters, and I think if the government put a bit more funding into it, I think Eddie's been a big vouch for that for years, saying I don't want to misquote him, but I think he said he sends his daughter to an amateur boxing club and stuff like that. Could save a lot of lives, couldn't it, really?
Yeah, no, look, I've supported Stonebridge Boxing Club, for, I think, better of 12 years now. I think we sponsored them for about 6 years because they're about to close down. And now that's actually become a good club. We had a kid called Michael Lowell come through there. Yeah. And he's done all right as a pro. He came into Stonebridge. I'm not even sure if he'd laced up gloves, but he'd been in a lot of trouble. Yeah. Got in there, started training, and now he's a pro. Yeah. So and he's making a living out of it, which is, look, you're not all going to do that. Yeah. It's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason.
Yeah. And not everyone has to turn pro either. They can just do it to help them out. Look, Nisse, I appreciate you giving us some of your time. We've covered quite a bit there, and hopefully we'll catch up again. And good luck for Saturday, because I know you'll be rooting for your boy Philip.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Appreciate it.